Alright, we're going to find the asymptotes, or actually the equations of the asymptote of this hyperbola. Now, in the equation of hyperbola, a squared always comes before b squared. Okay, it doesn't matter which one's larger. It's about which one's positive. Now, so a squared in this case is equal to 121. But we're going to need a to come up with our slope for the equation of our line. So a is equal to plus or minus 11. And then we'll do the same thing to find b. So b squared is equal to 100. Take the square root, and b is equal to plus or minus 10. Okay, remember that the slope of a line is y is equal to mx plus b. But since we're at the origin for our particular hyperbola, there's no x-intercept. I'm sorry, no y-intercept. So y is equal to mx. Now, earlier we said that we know that slope is rise over run. So what we'll end up doing is having our y value, whatever's underneath y, which in this case is a, will go on top of the x value. So for this one, we'll end up with y is equal to 11 over 10. That'll be our slope. And so the equation of one of our asymptotes is y is equal to 11 over 10x. Now, to come up with the other one, we simply change the sign of this, and it'll be the negative of it. So it'll be 11 10 over x. So again, in this particular case, if you have it written this way, it ends up being a over b. But if you remember that in this case, it doesn't really matter about a and b. It depends on where they fall underneath. So since y squared is over the 121, that means that it goes with the y value, so y over x. Now, just to check our answers, and this is what we came up with for the slope of our asymptotes. Alright, let's look at another example. Here we have x squared over 36 minus y squared over 4 is equal to 1. So we have an hyperbola again. Again, we're going to come up with the asymptotes. Alright, so this time a squared is equal to 36. So we take the square root, and a is equal to plus or minus 6. And we'll do the same thing to find the b again. So b squared is equal to 4. Take the square root of both sides, and b is equal to plus or minus 2. Okay, so now we have our a and our b value. Again, we will use the slope form of the equation of a line, so y is equal to mx. And remember that we have no y-intercept because we're at the origin for our center of our hyperbola. Now, what we'll do is remember it's always going to be rise over run with slope. Okay, so now our a value is underneath the x, so it'll go on bottom. So it'd be 6, and then we'll have 2 on top, and then we'll have x. So we have 2 over 6. Now that will reduce, so y is equal to 1/3 x. And then that's the slope of the one of the asymptote that has a positive slope, and then we'll need the one for the negative. So we'll just change the sign. So that's our equations of our two asymptotes. Alright, now to check our answers again, this is what we came up with. Alright, let's look at another example. Alright, now again we have the x squared and the y squared. So we'll have a squared is equal to 16. Take the square root. A is equal to 4 plus or minus. And then b squared is equal to 81. Take the square root. B is equal to plus or minus 9. Now notice again, the larger value, it doesn't matter that 81 is larger, okay, because what matters is the location here, and the fact that x is positive, okay, where the y would actually be negative. So we can't just say the one that looks bigger or the one that looks larger is our a or our b. But here a is 4 and b is 9. Now for what we're doing right now, we're just coming up with the slope of the asymptotes so that we can come up with the equation. So what we have to do is put our rise over run. So x is in the a location. Okay, so we'll put 4 on bottom, and then we'll put 9 on top since the b value was underneath the y, and we'll put x. Can't reduce this, and all we'll do is change the sign to come up with the second equation. So we have found our two asymptotes for this particular hyperbola. And to check our answers, this is what we end up with. Alright, let's do one more example. Alright, here we have a squared is equal to 100. Again, a is underneath y in this case, but a always comes first with hyperbolas. Take the square root of both sides. A is equal to plus or minus 10. Then do b squared is equal to 36. Take the square root, and b is equal to plus or minus 6. Now to come up with a slope, okay, it's going to be rise over run. Our y value right here is 10 because it's our a value is 10, but it's underneath the y. So what we'll do is put 10 over 6. Okay, this one will reduce. 2 goes into 10 5 times, and 2 goes in here 3 times. So we end up with 5/3 x is our slope. Okay, so that's the slope of one of our asymptotes. Change the sign, and that'll be the slope of our other asymptote. Okay, so we have found the slope of the asymptotes of hyperbolas.